In this training video, we're going to look at how to populate the lines on a job sheet. Now, it may be that you do this whilst you're making the booking, or it's something that you can do at a later date. So we're going to go ahead and open the job sheet from the schedule. Now, it's recommended that to open a job sheet, you right click on the allocation and select lookup. I would avoid using left click because it's almost a human habit now to double click and it will open the job sheet twice. So get into the habit of right clicking on the allocation and selecting lookup. Once in the job sheet, scroll down to the lines, and there are several ways to actually do this. So the first method is to actually populate the lines manually, so we can select the type. And the main types you're going to be using are labors and items. So in this case, we'll select labor. And then the next box along will then change what I can select. So now I can select from types of labor. So we'll select service labor. And if you use tab on the keyboard, it's going to move you across cells. And if you press shift tab, it's going to move you backward cells. So we'll go ahead and we'll select a quantity of 1.5. The unit price will be the labor rate, which will be £60 an hour. And if I keep pressing tab, I'm going to go across to the next line. Now again, if I tab again, I can just select from certain labors. So I could type in a labor code and it's going to find that labor code or search for it. And if I press tab, it's then going to fill it in. In this case though, we're going to actually select an item. So because I've selected the type as item, I can now select from types of items. So we'll select an oil filter. Again, I can keep tabbing along if I want to. The cost price is the cost to us. The unit price is the retail. So in this case, we can say it's £8. If you want to, we actually have a margin calculator here as well. So if I click on this button here, I can say actually I want to make a 50% margin on this item and press OK, and then it will change the price on the job sheet for me. So if I keep tabbing along and go down to the next line, you can see it's pre-filled the type with an item because the line above is item. And now I'm going to search for oil. So we're going to add some oil to the job sheet. And we'll say 5 litres. And we want to make a 35% margin on the oil. So that's the oil added to the job sheet. So that's one method of populating job sheets. It's the same way that you populate estimates and vehicle inspection estimates as well. But there are a couple of other methods to use. So if we go to the top of the document and select lookup, again I recommend that you pin the menu here on the right hand side. We can either use service packages or repair times. So if I go ahead and select service packages, now this all depends on the setup in the background of your system, but if the service packages are set up correctly, it's going to present me with services that apply to this vehicle. And because it's a BMW, we can see that it's applying a BMW filter and it's a diesel. So if I select this service package, it's going to populate the job sheet for me with all of the relevant information. So you can see that what I did manually up here, the system's just done automatically down here. The final way to populate the labor lines, the lines on the job sheet, is to use repair times. So if you've got Autodata add-on, if you select lookup repair times, it's going to take you through to what is very familiar for those that use Autodata, is the repair times catalog. You can use the search function. In this case, I'm just going to go through the menu. So I'm going to select brakes, and I'm going to select foot brakes. And you see I've got remove and install front brake pads. So if I select include here, you can see it's also added the parts for me. And then under process at the top, I've got add lines to document. And you can see that although this is booked in for a service, I've used the brakes as an example. You can see we've got remove and install front brake pads, and we have the brake pad part added as well. Now, it's quite common that you don't know what the part number is when you're adding parts to job sheets, which is absolutely fine. I'm going to cover that in a training video later on. So that is how you populate labors and items onto job cards, estimates, and vehicle inspection estimates.